does stress play into your health?
Massively.
Massively.
Massively. It plays a huge role. Yeah. This is actually an area I'm very, very passionate about. So acute stress is actually great though for our health. So short-term stressors is anabolic. If you think about it, it builds back resilience. It allows the body to build back stronger. So you maybe think about a workout that you do. That's a stressor on the body.
Okay.
You're breaking down muscle tissue in the process. So you're in a catabolic breakdown state. But then you go into a recovery state after. Hopefully you get adequate rest and you fuel your body with good nutrition. And then the body builds back stronger. So the net is an anabolic state. The body builds back stronger and it's building resilience. So that's acute stress. We want acute stress. So it's not avoiding stress. But when we're talking about how bad is stress on your body, what we're talking about is chronic stress. So this is now where somebody gets stuck with their nervous system in more of this sympathetic fight or flight state. And what we want to look at here is what is actually happening within the body when somebody's operating more in this fight or flight state. And so we see inflammation increase throughout the entire body. We see the immune system completely suppressed. We see the gut shut down. So this can lead to motility issues. This can lead to a disruption in the microbiota. So lead to a lot of microbiome issues, IBS, chronic bloating. And this can also impact somebody's hormones. So typically we'll see a reduction in somebody's sex hormones. We'll see their thyroid begin to decline. So we start to see this entire cascade of all of these issues begin to happen. Autoimmune conditions at the core, we can bring these all back to the body's nervous system being stuck operating in the sympathetic state. So the immune system has been massively impacted and the body can make mistakes and then eventually begin to attack its own tissue. Women are a lot more prone to developing autoimmune conditions. Actually, 90% of autoimmune conditions are women compared to men.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority of autoimmune conditions are women. And
So why is that? Is that because of the stress issue?
women have a much more sensitive, sympathetic nervous system. Men don't have as a sensitive of a sympathetic nervous system. And there was a really interesting study. I don't remember the study name, but we can get it and we can cite it in the notes of this podcast. But the study was done on women who were experiencing preterm depression while they were pregnant. And it increased the rate of them having an earlier delivery exponentially. However, when the man was depressed, so not when the woman was depressed when she was pregnant, but when the man was depressed, it increased the rate of delivery even greater for an earlier preterm delivery.
Wow, why is that?
Because the woman was absorbing the emotion of the man.
Dang.
So women at the core, if you think about just their nature, they're nurturing, they're absorbers. They absorb everybody's emotions around them. Women tend to be more people pleasers than men. And so a big part of this too could even be attributed to more of the personality type and how women have been conditioned to be the caretakers. And also if we look at society as a whole, now women are out working, but then they're also the moms taking care of the family. When the husband or the man experiences things that are wrong in his life, work stress, the woman absorbs it all. Like she gets 100% of the influence. And so women have much more sensitive nervous systems. And then I think there's also just the ways in which women operate and absorb so much of the emotions around them.
Oh, that's fascinating. So do you think there's importance in making sure that who you end up being with lines up?
One of the biggest decisions for your health right there.
Right.
Is who you marry.
Right. So if you're like, let's just say in this example, you're a woman, you are naturally, or, it just sounds like going to deal with more emotional aspects. You're going to pull in emotion. You might not want to be with someone who is also more emotional and wound up, or like how would you pair that? Do you want a guy who's more emotionally controlled and more stable?
I think we all do.
Okay. That's the goal.
I think that's the goal for all of us women. Women in the core are going to be more, in my opinion, more emotional in nature. And And so, yeah, does a women desire to be with a man who's more grounded and not going to bring an emotional storm? Does that mean that men also, though, need to stifle their emotions, that they're not allowed to feel? That's also could be a problem, though, if we go down that road.
Yeah.
And so I want to also be careful with that, because where we see, with men who begin to hold in all of their emotions because it's weak, it's not masculine to even show or let out any emotion. I mean, if we also look at suicide rates among men, they're exponentially higher than women. And I think that also plays a huge role.
Yeah, I did know that. It's funny. I'm not I'm not an overfeeler, but I'm human. So like, there's definitely points in my life where like, yeah, I'm not feeling good, or there's, I deal with a lot of stress. And I remember for a long time, I didn't want my wife, like I would not communicate to my wife the things that were super stressful in my life, because I always like took the stance of, I don't want you to feel like the family is at risk with the things I'm managing over here. Like I almost try to have it be like a protective kind of measure. And I remember her saying one day, like, I don't even feel like I know what you're dealing with. Like, you never let me in. And I remember like trying to think, okay, if I'm justifying not communicating by saying I'm protecting you, but you're telling me you want to be let in on some of this stuff, I probably need to communicate it. But I do always kind of, I think just it goes through my mind, I try to be calculated at times with making sure I'm not dumping too much on her.
And I think that's
and I think that's like we have to deal with it from the CEO position or the
Sure.
leadership position as a company, right? When you're the founder and you're the one at the top, sometimes you worry that your team or your staff is going to get stressed out if they knew all the things that are like not working, or like in
Sure.
business, it's a dumpster fire always. So you're trying to be mindful that you're still encouraging and showing confidence to the staff, but you're also not,
Yeah.
lying to them to keep them on a sinking ship.
Yeah.
I think there is a dynamic that I think I struggle with Jen, where I'm like, I don't want to just like dump it on you where now you're stressing out, but I do want you to know at times, like, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with.
Dumping is very different than the allowance of emotions too. And
that's
so
good to
I
know.
think there's emotional instability, which when a woman senses that in a man is going to create instability in her.
Right.
And then a man just expressing emotions and sharing where he's at is very, very different. A man can do that from a very grounded place and communicate that, and also let out emotions. And then too, on his own, really let out the emotions in the way that he needs to be able to not stifle it all. That's a very healthy way of navigating that. But the constriction of these emotions, I mean,
That's where it becomes a problem.
that's where, from one's health also exponentially, it's the suppression of emotions that also lead to a lot of chronic health issues. I forget what book it was in, but this author said, she used the frame rage in talking about emotion, but she said, rage turned outward is rage turned inward is ulcers. And so whatever we suppress and hold on to in the body remains in the body and manifests in dis-ease. And so we have to allow the expression of emotions in healthy outlets. Exercise can be a great way for like releasing energy. Having an emotional release is very healthy. Does that mean you need to go dump on your partner?
Right.
No. But can you allow and communicate where you're at? Can you show emotion? Can you show humanity? And I get the frame of, in business, like we don't want to show like when we're struggling necessarily, but I also think with your most intimate partner, you can show a bit of your humanity, and that's not dumping on somebody. So dumping on somebody is, I think, where you're just unleashing everything on them. And then also too, like I think a lot of people expect their partner to also just sort of hold everything for them and also, even sometimes fix everything. They become the counselor, they become all of these different things. And yeah, that can be very challenging for a relationship dynamic.
I think that's a great clarification. I think that's good. Okay, I know you focus more on the health side, kind of nutrition side, and one of the kind of benefits from that is just from a fitness standpoint.
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you start looking better, right? You get
Yeah.
more in shape.
Aesthetics. I love working on
Yes.
aesthetics. That was my first love because I came from the bodybuilding world, the fitness world, struggled with a lot of my own health issues, gut issues, almost had my large intestine removed, was on all those medications I shared with you about, brought me into the more functional world.
Right.
And then my lens of health changed, but aesthetics was my first love. So I love aesthetics, but now I don't define health as just aesthetics. That's the difference.
Okay, so there's a perfect, you're setting me up perfectly.
Great.
How important is it to count macros and to like count calories with what you're eating? Is that something you should be doing, or should we stay away from that?
I think everybody should do it for a period of time. Should somebody do it long term forever? No, by no means. I do find benefit for somebody who maybe doesn't really understand nutrition and what's in everything, and also how much protein, especially how much protein somebody should be eating throughout the day, because most Americans are under-proteined. And then they're probably overeating in a lot of their calories. And even sometimes if you're trying to eat healthy, I know for myself, when I started to go more on like the health path when I was in college, I was like, oh, almonds are healthy. And I would eat a ton of almonds. Well, I was eating as a snack like 800, 1,000 calories in almonds. And so that's where I think tracking macros to get an understanding of what's in everything you're eating, what's the nutrition look like, what does my plate look like with hitting the protein that I need throughout the day. So if I need for my composition to get 130 grams of protein per day, and I break that up throughout the course of the day, what should each of those portions look like, measure that out for a period of time. I think everybody should do that for a period of time. Should they do that forever? No. Does everybody want to be a bodybuilder? Does everybody want to get to, 5% body fat? No, but I think there is definite benefit for understanding nutrition. So who should track macros? Somebody who really needs to grasp and understand nutrition better for better portion control, or somebody who wants to just look like a shredded, sexy metabolic beast. Yeah, then count macros. But for the average person, if you have a good understanding of nutrition, you know ideally how much protein you should be eating, and you're choosing good quality food, whole-based foods. It's actually hard to sometimes overeat it, but you understand the portions now at this point, so
Yeah.
you can go off of that. I mean, that's what I do. I don't count macros or do any of that anymore. I
Okay.
did for a while, and my relationship with food is way better.